Hello again. So today I'm going to look at fetching your caravan out of storage, getting it ready for the coming summer. So here's the scenario. It's been sitting here on the drive for a little while, maybe a few months. It's been in storage, that kind of thing. And you just want to check everything's working. Last thing you want to do is be turning up to a field finding out the toilet doesn't work or something like that. So it's well worth checking it over before you go, for safety reasons as well. So lots of things to look out for. First of all, have a little walk around, and what I'm looking at is things like this. I'm going to check just that all the lights are firm, there's none of them hanging off, and things like, you know, the number plate's not hanging off. Check all the lights and handles, make sure they're all still secure really. Wandering around and make sure everything looks okay. If there's any obvious dents or holes that you don't remember, and anything that looks wrong, any panels that are loose, that kind of thing, carry on around. You'll find as well, so if I look at this, bits of green stuff starting to grow in there. So obviously the other thing we're going to do is to give it a good clean. If you just keep not cleaning it, eventually the whole thing goes green. So I want to check that. And then some other things down here. So the water container, make sure there's no creatures living in it, that kind of thing. It all still works. This one's a bit loose, but just about serviceable. And then this is a good one to check. This is the outlet for the heater. Just want to check that it's all sound, it's not falling off, and also trying to see if there's any creatures living in it, any telltale signs of any creatures or creepy crawlies that might want to live in it. That looks all right. And then carrying on round, we can check all the handles, check all of the things are still secure, that kind of thing. Just a general walk around, and that looks okay. So the next thing we're going to have a look at is the tyre pressure. Is really important. So here we are, we're going to check the tyre pressures. So several ways of doing it. So this is a little dial pressure gauge, goes up to 100 psi, and then there's also this sort where you basically put it onto the tyre and the thing pops out. Now this one in particular only goes up to 50, so it's not enough. These tyres need to be at 60. Now if you're not sure what pressure to put them at, it should be in your manual. If it's not there, there are various tyre pressure calculators online, and you put in the weight of your caravan and the little tyre size marker, and it tells you what it needs to be. So there's also usually a pressure gauge on your pump, but they're often not very accurate. In fact, all these can be a bit inaccurate, so it's wise if you've got more than one to check them against each other to make sure that they match. Okay, easy enough. Undo the thing, find the little bit that goes against the valve, and press till it stops hissing. Now this one retains the pressure, so I can look at it and I can see that it's just under 60, so it's probably about 55, so it needs a bit more in it because these tyres need to be up at 60. So I'll touch my pump. And happily the pump's showing round about the same thing, which means hopefully that it's fairly accurate, and I can just add those extra few. Okay, that's got it, that's 60 now. It's really important to do this. This is probably the most important thing to do, job to do in the whole thing, because if you get the tyre pressures wrong, they can burst. And that could leave you in a whole world of trouble, and the caravan suddenly jumps sideways. So that's that. The other thing to watch out for, sunny day like this, the sunny side, the tyre can warm up and the pressure can increase. So don't be ever letting pressure out of it because one side looks higher pressure than the other if it's sunny like that. So just be aware. In fact, generally you shouldn't need to let pressure out anyway, unless you've over pressurized it. Okay, so that's that. We take the pump off, put the cap back on, we're good to go, and do that to both sides. Also, while I'm here, just checking for any cuts or any lumps in the tyre that don't look right. If you've left it parked for ages, if you're really unlucky, what can happen is you get a bulge at the bottom. In that case, you have to throw the tyre wear and get a new one. Don't forget as well, do this to the spare. No point driving off somewhere with a spare that's deflated, it's completely useless to you. So usually I carry it underneath, or sometimes in the gas locker, get it out, have a look at it, check the tyre pressure. There we go, that's that bit done. Okay, round to the front now. Again, checking everything, just checking for anything that doesn't look right or doesn't move. If you're on a flat surface, take the brake off and switch it back on again and make sure that it actually works. I'm not going to do that here because I'm on a slope and the caravan will roll into the garage. Other things, wires, so make sure nothing's been gnawing on the wires, and again make sure this brake cable thing isn't starting to fray anywhere where it catches. That looks alright. Make sure there's nothing making a nest in these. Make sure they're not looking all horrible and corroded. That one looks alright. And then the front. So what we can do, you can check the brakes are working. If you give it a push, you'll see it should go in and it should slowly pop back out again. Really there's not much more you can do with this. You ought to get it serviced at least every year underneath to make sure all the brakes and things are working. So the other thing, you can give this a wobble, and if it wobbles from side to side, which this one does, there's a bit extra you can do. So obviously if it wobbles from side to side, you're going to get clonking noises when you tow it. So top tip here, there are 2 grease nipples. If you get a grease gun, we can sort that out, so we'll do that next. Here we are, 1 grease gun. Now I like to put on some rubber gloves because this grease gun is really skanky and covered in grease. And all you do, put it on one of the things, 3 pumps, put it on the other one, 3 pumps, take it off, and then we should find, there we go, that is now absolutely solid. So that'll be okay for a little while. You can clean up the grease a little bit, throw away the gloves, job done. The other thing that's really important to check is these things from your fridge outlets. Creatures love to go up inside these. You can check the little grills and make sure that they're all good and that there's no creatures living in them. These ones look okay. Next it's the gas locker. So we can open it up, and just like before, we're just looking any telltale signs of creatures, because there's plenty of holes around here that a mouse or something could easily climb through. So I'm just checking everything, check under everything, looking for the telltale little like black grains of rice type of thing. Any evidence of insects and that kind of thing, you don't want that. And in fact this one looks fairly clean, so that's good. The other thing you're watching out for is any smell of gas. That would be bad. And while we're in here, we can check all these feel firm, there's no loose bits, that's all connected up, and that looks all right. So happy with that, moving on. Okay, so the final thing to do on the outside is get down and have a good look underneath and just check if anything that looks wrong, really, any cables that are dangling, brake cables dangling, anything like that. You look from the back and the front. Well, there's a spare tyre which you will have checked already. That all looks good. But another last job on the outside, obviously check inside where the toilet thing goes, make sure it's all okay, no creatures. Pull it out, have a look inside, make sure that's all looking good, that's all fine. And then it goes back in. We'll test that a bit further later on as well. We'll chuck some water down it to make sure it's right, but for now that looks alright. Another final job to do, have a look on top. Again, looking for anything that looks wrong, any sort of bird's nest or anything that have been added. If you've got a solar panel, check that it's clean. You can do this one's filthy, so it's not going to be working very well. It's got some sort of Saharan sand or something all over it. So when I clean it, which is the final job to do, I'll check all that. I'll make sure this is clean. I'll make sure the whole thing's clean, get all the green off everything. So that's looking okay up here. So cleaning the caravan, not much to be said really. Get a bucket of soapy water. What I use is this thing on a lead, and let me get it. The clever bit, it's got a little valve at the end, so you stick it in a bucket like the one I've got here, clip it in, and then as you move the thing around, you see it pumps water out from the bucket. So you actually put the soapy water out and you only use a bucket full rather than the whole lot. And then obviously a hose pipe to clean it up. There we go, carry on with that. Now I've moved inside, and again it's a standard sort of check. What I'm doing is I'm looking at everything, I'm checking for damp. Nothing looks damp, nothing feels damp, that kind of thing, and this is good. If you've got your aqua roll in here, you can check in there. Now you have left the top off, haven't you, during the winter. If you leave the top on, it goes all skunky inside. That looks alright, smells alright, so that's okay. I can look down while I'm here, I can look down at the water heater, make sure there's no dangly bits, and I'm also looking for any evidence of creatures. That's the main thing I'm looking for really. I'm looking under the seats, any telltale signs, little black bits, or any sleepy wasps, which is the one thing you don't want to find. You know, that looks alright. That looks fine. I'll check the other side as well. Okay, nothing in there. Yep, no sign of anything under there, so that looks alright. And again, this is the side where all the electrics are on this Caravan, so you just check there's no dangly wires or mice tucking into them. Any other little drawers and things, you can have a quick look. Make sure nothing's moving under there. Checking in the drawers, find all the things that you've been looking for over the summer, over the winter. Okay, those look good, no damp, nothing like that. Check all the blinds work. That looks alright. Caravan's filthy on the outside, but blinds all working. And then checking all the other cupboards as well, all the overhead cupboards. Basically check everywhere around the Caravan for creatures, anywhere they can get in. Now another thing to look at, we'll test these in the fullness of time, but while we're here, this is my solar controller. I can check the battery voltages, and I'm looking for something like 13.8 or so. 13.8, 14 is where the battery should be, and check that we're getting a charge as well. This one cycles round and tells me that the panels are actually charging the battery. I've got about an amp or so going through, so that looks all right. That's been charging, so the battery's happy. Here we go, 14.4 is the battery voltage on this one, so that's good. Checking all the other things just again for anything that looks out of place. Looks like something might have been eating it, and done. Okay, next thing is the fridge. Now hopefully you've left the fridge open during the winter. If you haven't, you can find it full of mould when you come back to it, so leave it open. Make sure the door works, make sure the spring clip is correct on it. If you've got one of these, now if the spring's gone, then you need to fix it, and one of my other videos shows you how to do that, because if the spring's gone, that bounces. What can happen, although it seems like it's locked, so you go over a bump, this thing bounces up and down, and eventually you go over a bump, and the fridge will pop open, especially if you've got a load of weight in the door. And then what will happen is you drive along, the door will be swinging merrily in the breeze, and at some point you'll hit the brakes, it'll swing, and once it's open, it can come off its hinges, because the way you get it off its hinges is you lift it when it's open. So that will happen, and I've certainly once came along, got to a service station, came in the Caravan, and the door was off. Fridge and cheese and stuff was all over everywhere, milk and stuff. I had to pick it all up and put the door back on. Don't want to go there for the sake of, you know, £2 worth of little spring that goes in here, so beware of that. Now I might just leave that open so it continues to wear. Again, look in the ice box, which I've had jammed open with this sponge, just to make sure there's no mould in there. Now if you leave it open and airy, then it shouldn't mould at all, and you won't have to give it a clean. You've cleaned it before you put it away, didn't you? So that's all good. Now next things to look at, we'll look at all the rest of the cupboards and things, obviously, just to make sure there's no creatures in them. We'll look in the bathroom and the wardrobes and everywhere, the same thing, just checking for creatures. And then we come to the point where we can start to test everything. Everything's good to go, so we'll put the gas on, we'll test the cooker works, and then we'll test the various other things. We'll plug in the electrics, check all the lights work and that kind of thing, so we'll do that next. So I put the gas on. First things first, I can't hear anything hissing and I can't smell any gas, which is a good sign. All I'm going to do is, first of all, we switch on the power to make sure the thing will work. Test, I'm getting ignition, which is good, and then we'll light one up. Now it might take a little while for the gas to come through because it's been emptying throughout the winter. It's hissing, but I'm not smelling gas, so we'll keep it going for a while. Still not smelling any gas. Okay, let's try a different one. Okay, nothing coming through there. I suspect there might be something wrong with my igniters. So let's try. There we go, that one's just about working. Let's try one of these again. There we are. So that's lit. That's running. Oh, there we go, the igniter's working now. Just had the gas hadn't come through. And what I'm going to do is turn on all three and make sure that they burn. They all burn in blue. They're all looking okay. So that's okay. No drop in pressure. Now, what I'm going to do, and while I was doing it, remember, what I've done is tested all the thermocouples as well, because I held the gas in and now I've let go. They're still burning. So what I'm going to do for each one, I'm going to turn them off quickly, and I should hear 3 clicks as the thermostats click out. So just listening. 1, 2, 3. There you go. Oh, another one. Must have misheard the first one. 3 clicks means the things have turned off again, and you should find, put the gas on, it doesn't hiss anymore, so the thermocouples work. So just check that for them. Turn the gas on, can't hear it hissing. Turn the gas on, can't hear it hissing unless I press. So those are good. So I know the thermocouples are working and that they're safe. So that's all good to go. I'll do the same with the oven. I'll just switch it on and make sure it lights. And again, you can check if you hear a click from the thermostat after when you turn it off again. Those are all good. I'm checking in the oven again, just in case there's any creatures in there. Doubt it. So that's the oven and the cooker tested. So I know that's all working and good. I'm not going to put the top down yet because these are still going to be hot and I don't want to crack it. So there's that. So the next part, I like to sterilise the water system every year. You've had other pipes sitting there over winter. They might have had a bit of water in them, they might have had all sorts going up and down them, so I like to sort of run some of this stuff. It's just a very gentle sort of sterilizer. Now you can get this on eBay or from Amazon. It's really not very expensive. And the instructions say 4.5 litres, so that's a gallon, takes a teaspoon. And what I'll do is take, so I've got a 40 litre, these things are about 40 litres. It means I'm going to take about 8 or 9 teaspoons of this, mix it with water in a jug till it's all completely dissolved, then pour it in your tank and then top the tank up till it's full with clean water, and then we can wheel that out, plug it into the Caravan. So I'll do that now. Okay, so you're ready now. I've taken some of this stuff, I've mixed it in with some warm water so it's all dissolved nicely. And now what I've done is I haven't taken the whole amount. I've taken about half, so I'm only going to half fill this, otherwise I'm going to have loads of stuff that I need to run through the system. So all you do, pour that in, and then take your hose pipe and fill it up, or at least half fill it up in this case. Okay, right, this is now full, well, half full, and I've rolled it here so the sterilising agent's had a chance to roll all inside this, although I don't really think this needs much because it's been open all winter. So we'll pop that in, connect up this, and again, while we're doing this, it makes sure that this is all sound and working. Make sure that's seated properly. There we are. Now go inside and check it. So go, first things first, go down to the little tap at the bottom that empties the hot water tank and make sure it's in the off position. It's very easy to connect it all up and then think, why isn't the tank filling, and then find out you're pumping all of your water onto the ground. So there's that. Then we'll go and try the taps. Okay, so we're ready to turn the pump on now. So over to the panel and master on and pump on. Now we should hear the pump start to run. The tap should be open and we should start to hear it gurgle while the system fills up. While it's doing that, we can just have a stand back. We can check around it, everything else is okay. So if we pop into the bathroom, check that's doing it as well, which it is. So we keep going. In fact, if you have it on you have it on hot, then you know you're filling up the hot tank. It'll take about 30 seconds or so to fill up, as it normally does. And what you're doing is filling up the tank with the sterilising agent, and then you're going to be filling up all the pipes as well. So don't forget to go into the bathroom, switch on the bathroom tap as well, so that those pipes fill up. And the whole system full of water. Still going. Okay, so this is full now, water's flowing. But I've got a problem down the front in that water's coming out of that valve. So let's go and investigate. So here's the valve, and these valves are notorious for leaking. So if you're getting one and it's not working, the trick is you get the valve, switch on and then off again. And that usually stops the water from coming out. So we'll go outside and check it, but that should have done the job. So I've been outside to check, that water stopped flowing now out of that valve, and you can see the pump light has gone off. There'll be a little red light there. So that's all done. The other thing, we can pop in the bathroom, check we've got water in there. So we'll let a little bit run down the sink as well, and that'll mean all the sterilising agent will sit in the sink pipes for a little while as well, just help with any noxious smells. And also don't forget the shower attachment, so we can switch that on. Okay, so that's got some in it as well. So all parts of the system now have some of that sterilising fluid in. And what we then do is we can turn off the pump, and we'll just leave that now. And we'll leave it for something like 2 hours. Have a look on what it says on the little tub. It tells you how long to leave it, about 2 hours, and then we'll come back. While we're waiting, I'll just check. I'll just go along all the pipes on the inside, and I'll just look to make sure there's no leaks. And I'll hopefully, actually what I'll do is I'll sit up the front with the window open, I'll read a book or something, and I'll hear if the pump keeps switching on and off. If the pump keeps switching on and off, then you're losing pressure somewhere. Something's leaking, and that's not where you want to be. The other thing on this particular Caravan as well is I will operate the flush, because the flush water here comes from the fresh water tank as well, so I might as well sterilise that while we're at it, and it'll give me a chance to test the toilet. I'll flow a bit of water into it, and I'll make sure it works. I'll make sure the flushing mechanism works, make sure I can open and shut the little valve and check that's working, so I'll do that next. Here we are, here's the toilet. This is a button push one, just check. Yeah, that's working, and I can check that the little lever's working. Okay, dump that water, so that's all good. So happy with that. Switch the pump off and then wait for a couple of hours. So in terms of the toilet, I should add, if you've got one of the more standard systems, so you have like a little cistern that you fill it up with water. Now you have left it empty over winter, I'm presuming. You don't want it full over winter, because what can happen is as the thing freezes and turns to ice, it expands and it can crack the cistern. So fill it up with water, make sure there's no leaks. You can fill it up with some of the sterilising water if you really want to. Make sure there's no leaks, and then test the flush works, and then you're good to go. You can put the pink stuff in, but I never used to do that when I had a normal one, and this system doesn't let you. I've read a lot about it. That's a debate for another day, but you probably don't really need the pink stuff. I found with my old Caravan, when I put pink stuff in the water, I used to get little black bits coming out, and that slowly clogged up the system. I stopped putting the pink stuff in, the black stuff went away. So yeah, read into that what you will. But anyway, there we go. And one of the jobs I'll do while I'm waiting is to test the light. So I've got the power switched on, and I'll just double check I've got the light switched on as well, which I haven't. And then we can just go around and turn on all of the lights. There you go. And this one isn't working properly. The switch is broken. You can see it's flashing, but it's not coming on. There we are. That's going to need fixing. See, I found a problem already. Well, what I'll probably do is replace it with an LED. This is an LED one that I've did before. That one's working fine, so that's good. So we can go around and check all of the lights in the Caravan. Now I haven't plugged it in yet. I've not plugged it into the mains. So what you're doing here is you're also checking that the battery's in good condition and that the battery works. Okay, so a couple of hours has gone by. What we're going to do next is empty this out, empty what's left into the drain, and then wash it out with clean water, and then fill it up with clean water again. Then I'll bring it back. Okay, that's now cleaned out, fresh water, so in that goes. And now we can go and wash wash out the system. First job, to try and drain out all of the other stuff that we've got in there, all the sterilising agents. So obviously we turn on the dump valve down there, and then we come over here, we can turn on all the taps, which should now, as long as the pump's switched off, which should now just make gurgling noises. And we're letting all of that on the shower, we're letting all of that water with the chemicals in it escape now. So we'll give that 10 minutes. So 10 minutes has passed. Switching the pump back on, we should now get the gurgling again from the taps while we wait for it all to fill up. So the next part is, as I'm doing here, run all the water out. So you fill the container with clean water and then you can run it out through the taps. You can run it out through both taps, so hot and cold, put it in the middle so it both runs through. So you want all that water to come out through all the pipes, all the sort of water with the sterilising agent in. And you can do the same in the bathroom as well. So run out the water until we get nice clean water coming out. And run the whole lot out. Run the toilet water as well. There we go. Let it all go and do that until the thing's empty, and then that'll be the whole system cleaned out, nice clean water, and then you can empty it again and it's job done. But while you've got it full, of clean water now, so it's a good idea before you actually empty it is to test out the water heater. So what I tend to do is test it out on gas first of all. So I've got the gas connected, the thing's running, everything's, I better switch the tap off in the bathroom as well before all the water pours away. And then what I can do is switch on the gas. There we go. And then we'll see if that warms up. And as soon as we start to get it just starting to warm up, so what I'll do is come over to here and I'll be able to feel, in about 10 minutes time, I'll have a feel in here and we'll just see if it's getting warm. And if it's getting warm, that means the water heater's working. And I can then switch it off, let it cool, and I'll try it again with the electrical on. And that way we know the water heater's working both electrically and on gas. And also I'll try the room heater, so I can do that while I'm here. Space heater on gas. I'll try to run it all on gas without it plugged in. I'll switch it all off, let it cool, and then run it again on electricity and let that cool, and let that warm up, sorry, and then I'll know all the heaters are working. Water heater, normal heater, all on gas, all on electricity, and that's pretty much all of the stuff within here then tested. So now this is probably the most important part of the whole thing. This is the carbon monoxide detector. Must test the carbon monoxide detector. That looks all right. Can't stress enough how important a carbon monoxide detector is. If you haven't got one, then you need to get one, because this thing could save your life. Let's say your fridge is leaking. Run it on gas, you're getting some carbon monoxide leaking out. You wouldn't know. Maybe you've done something stupid, had too many glasses of wine, and you've left the cooker on, and it's letting carbon monoxide out. Doesn't take much. You're locked in a small box, fills with carbon monoxide. You're not coming out, and people die every year because of it. So you must test this. If you haven't got one, buy one. And just around the corner I've also got a smoke detector, and I'll test that as well. So now checking that the fridge works, I've switched it on, and as you can see, things are bad. We have flickering lights, none of the buttons work, the on off switch doesn't work. Something is wrong with the fridge. Now it could be a power supply problem. I'll quickly check the power supplies to it, the 12 volts. If I can't do that, I shall take it to a dealer to get it fixed, because it's a gas appliance and you shouldn't be messing with gas appliances unless you really know what you're doing, because obviously you can poison yourself or something could explode. So good job, I've checked it all out. I've found an issue. I can get that fixed before I go anywhere. So that's pretty much it. I think it's pretty much everything checked now. Most of it's working apart from the fridge, so we're good to go. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.